Hello. Today I'd like to tell you about present simple versus present continuous. So what's the difference between these two tenses? Let's start by looking back at the real life examples I gave you. So this is my son Maris and my brother Tims. Maris is almost 2 years old now. However, in this picture he's 1 year old. Tims is 1 year and a half younger than me. In the pictures, Maris is sitting in my lap and I'm holding him and he's eating some kind of cheese. And Tims is standing next to his motorcycle. Tims also has a son who is approximately 1 year and a half younger than Maris. We visit their family once per month. And we always celebrate birthdays, Christmas and Easter together. So this was the real life example, when to use present continuous and when to use present simple. Let's review these two tenses. First, in this presentation, we'll talk about the difference in meaning between these two tenses. Then we'll look at some exceptions. These will be words which are not used in the continuous form, and we will call them the static verbs. And then third, there will be some tricky static verbs which can also be used in this continuous form. There will also be tasks, so please prepare a notebook and a pen or a pencil and be ready to stop the presentation when needed. Let's start by looking at the meaning. So please think of the difference between these two sentences. If you are ready, let's go on and check the answers. So the first one, it often rains here, means a regular, repeated action, which describes this region. And the second sentence means that it isn't raining now and we can go out. So we use present simple for regular, repeated actions, also habits, and present continuous for actions happening now or around now. Let's look at some other examples. My neighbors always go to the countryside at the weekend. So this is their habit. They always do it at every weekend they go to the countryside. And we're going to the cinema now. This means we are in the process of going. We are walking on the street or we are driving in our car and going to the cinema now. My son learns a new word every day, which is true. So this is what he does repeatedly every day. Kate wants to work in Italy, so she's learning Italian. So this is something Kate is doing in this period. So this is something happening around now. Might not necessarily mean that she's learning now. However, in this period, she's taking these courses and she's learning. So the next task. What's the difference between these two sentences? When you're ready, let's check. So the first one is a fact which is always true. And the second is again an action which is happening now. So we use present simple for things that are always true, or facts, and present continuous for actions happening now or around now. Let's look at some other examples. For example, ice melts in the sun, which is always true. And look, the ice is finally melting. This means it's happening now. We have maybe been waiting for this moment and it's finally happening. The earth goes around the sun. Again, it's a fact. And if we want to stress this continuous, uninterrupted process, we can also say the earth is constantly going around the sun. Okay, so the next task, what's the difference between these two sentences? When you have some ideas, let's check them out. So the first one is a long-term situation, or at least the speaker thinks it's a long-term situation. And the second is a short-term situation. I'm working in a school just for this time period in my life. It's not my long-term job. So we use present simple for long-term situation, present continuous for short-term situations. This is actually the same use of present continuous for talking about things that are happening around now. So usually short-term actions, short-term situations. Let's look at some other examples. My parents live in London. This means they have lived there all their lives. Or they have lived there for a long time already. And I'm living with some friends until I find a place of my own. This means I'm looking for a place of my own and I'm just living there for this short time period. He works in a bank. He has worked there 7 years already. It's his profession and he will probably work some more years there. She's working as a waitress while she's studying. So it's not her profession, it's just something she's doing while she's studying, just a short-term situation. The next task, please take a look at these different examples and think of their difference. And when you're ready to continue, let's go on. So the first one is actually, it's your habit, and I think it's alright that you call your mom on Sundays. There's no negative emotional meaning or no specific emotional meaning included. And the second one is actually that I'm fed up with that you're always calling your mom. I think you call her too often and I do not like that. So we use present simple with always for regular repeated actions and habits, and present continuous for habits that are annoying, that we do not like, when we want to express our irritation. Let's look at some other examples. So I always go to work by car. This is my habit. This is a repeated regular action. Versus I've lost my pen again. I'm always losing things. This means I can't stand this characteristic of mine. Pete always watches TV on Sunday evening. It's fine for me. It's his habit. While Richard never cleans the house, he's always watching TV. This means I think that he watches TV too often. Okay, let's move on and talk about some exceptions. And let's start with a task. Which sentence from each pair is correct? Take a moment to read through and to find the correct answers. And when you're ready, then let's check. So these are the correct answers. Basically, as you can see, that all the sentences which are correct are in present simple, and all the sentences which are not correct are in present continuous. Although we are talking about this moment, so I want this ice cream, it's now that I want it, but for some reason I will explain later, we don't say I'm wanting this ice cream, so we don't say that's incorrect. And the reason is that these are the so-called static or state verbs, and they're not used in the continuous form because they express states or conditions which are quite static. These words include such words as like, remember, understand, want, love, taste, hear, wish, dislike, desire, see, smell, think, and so on. Yes, if you think about them, they're kind of less active than such verbs as take, go, walk, give, dance, smile, speak, and so on. So the task for you here, please look through all of these verbs and group them into 5 different groups according to their meaning. And when you're ready, let's check the answers. So, you should have come up with such groups as these. And your next task is to think of a title for each group. What title could you put to group 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5? When you're ready, let's go on. So the titles could look like this or something similar. So the first are feelings or emotions, and we have senses. The senses are when we see something, smell something, taste something. We have these senses. Then the third one could be wants. The fourth one, something with this thinking, this mental activity. And the fourth one was something with having, belonging, owning something. And there are other words which also go into these groups. As you can see, the feelings, there are also hate and prefer. In the senses, we have also see and taste. And yes, in this sense, this McDonald's advertisement, I'm loving it, as incorrect. They have used it just to stress this process of loving, but grammatically we don't use the word love in the continuous form. Then there are these words which describe some kind of wants and wishes, also intend and need, and then these mental activities where you can add also think, doubt, hope, consider, mean, and so on. Have, it's also possessed and have. And then there's another group which I didn't include in the previous task. These are verbs which describe the existence, like exist and be, and other verbs. However, that's not all, because some of these static verbs can have different meanings, and depending on their meaning, they can be used either in the present simple or the present continuous form. Let's look at these tricky static verbs. So what's the difference between these two sentences? You're being stupid now and you are stupid. What do you think? Yes, the first one means that you're behaving in a stupid way, that it's only now but not usually. And the second one means that you are stupid in general, that it's your characteristic part of your personality. You are stupid. Okay, so as I said, some static verbs are used in the continuous form when they describe an action which is happening now or around now, rather than a relatively static state. So they have these different meanings, and they can describe also a rather active action happening now. Let's look at other verbs. We just saw the example with be. We have a similar example here. She's being silly again. So she's behaving in a silly way now. And also just you are my best friend, which is true in general or true for a long time. Then we have. They're having a party at the moment. This means they're partying now, or they're having dinner at the moment. He's having a shower at the moment. These are all actions happening now. While something which someone owns will be always used with present simple. So Jim has a car, I have a house, he has a bike, and so on. Think and feel are also some of the verbs which are tricky. So when we ask someone, what are you thinking about? We can usually see an active mental process going on. So he can answer, for example, I'm thinking about my next holiday. I'm thinking how to get somewhere. I'm thinking how to get more money or something like that. But when we just say, I think that coffee is great, it does not involve this active mental process. It's just my opinion. And feel is also a little bit similar. So when we ask, how are you feeling now? How are you feeling? We're asking about the physical state. And when we say, I feel that you are wrong, this is similar to think. So I think so, and it's my opinion. Think that you are wrong. I don't think so. Okay, let's go on. And there are two more. Of course, there are also some more, but these are the most important ones. So these are see and taste. So see is used in the continuous form. It means to have a relationship with someone or to visit someone. For example, Lisa is seeing George for 5 years already. This means they're having a relationship for 5 years already. And I'm seeing my dentist tomorrow. It means I'm visiting my dentist. I have an appointment with my dentist tomorrow. While we can't use this continuous form, when see means to notice with your eyes or to understand. So what do you see? And I see what you mean. I understand what you mean. And taste also depends on whether it's an active action or just a characteristic of something which tastes good or bad. So the chef is tasting the soup. This means the chef has taken a spoon and is tasting the soup, is testing it, whether it's good or not. And this soup tastes great. It means that the soup has a great taste. In the same way, we can also use the verb smell. The chef is smelling the soup and this soup smells great. So we have covered the basic differences between these two tenses, present simple and present continuous, and let's review what we have discussed. So present simple is used for regular repeated actions and for facts, while present continuous is used for actions happening now or around now. Also, present simple is used for long-term situations, while present continuous is used for short-term situations. Well, the short-term situations, it's the same use as for actions happening around now, because this means that they are not true for a long period of time. And when we add this adverb always and we use it in present simple, it still means regular repeated actions or habits, but with present continuous there is this meaning of something annoying or something that irritates me and which I do not like. Then we looked at the verbs which are exceptions, which can't be used in the continuous form, even though the meaning is about the present moment, about something happening now at the time of speaking. And these are verbs which are called state verbs or static verbs, because they do not express an active action. They can be grouped into 6 groups. These are feelings or emotions, senses, wants, needs, mental activities, thinking, having something, and verbs like be and exist and others. But that's not all, because there are some tricky static verbs which can be used either in the continuous or in the simple form, depending on the meaning. And we have looked at the 6 most popular of these verbs: be, have, think, feel, see, and taste. So these are the sources I used to prepare this presentation. Thank you for your attention. If you have any questions, watch the video again, search Google, use the sources I used, or ask me when you meet me. Have a nice day. Goodbye.